you been thinking about making an 80% low receiver? If you have, you need to watch this. %, Arms Easy Jig Gen 3. So if anybody's looking to do an 80% low receiver, you can get this jig, mill out the low receiver, and you have a complete firearm. So with this jig, I had the 5D tactical jig. It just did the AR-15, the 5.56 low receiver size. And then I had to buy a whole nother jig that was specifically for 308, and I know it had to have been around, I think, $300-400 for each jig. So I had to have two separate jigs. So eventually I ended up selling those two to be able to pay for this one. And I still had money left over because this jig is only $299. You have pins right here to go through there for the 308 or the AR-15 style. The takedown pins are the same distance as the AR-15 as it is for the AR-9. This thing is built, I mean, look how thick that is. So the problem I had with the 5D tactical is whenever you go to drill the fire control group pins or the safety selector hole on the side blocks on the other jig, it started to bore out. So every lower I did, it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then actually eventually I noticed it was actually having some slop in the safety selector. I didn't like that at all. So anyways, I sold that one, well, both of them. Bought this one. I had enough money to buy 80% also, so did that. We're not gonna mill a jig today because, well, YouTube don't like that kind of stuff. So anyways, so you start off with this here. Put the low receiver up in this. You would screw this plate into the back where the buffer tube goes. So you see how you have a little notch right there, like on the back of the receiver. Screw that into the buffer tube, and then you have these two screw holes here. This part here that screws into the back of the low receiver that mounts to the back of the jig, you can actually hook a vacuum tube to that, and it will suck all the metal shavings out, because that's the bad thing about jigs. It made a mess. First one I ever did, I did here in the gun room, and I heard about that for months. Little metal shavings all over the carpet. So after that, I started doing it in my shop. I don't know why I didn't do it in the shop to begin with. I just wanted to do it in here. I don't know. It's a gun room. What do you build guns? It goes. So you have your AR-15 holes and your AR-10 holes. So, and then you have these little screws here. It comes with a bunch of these little flathead Phillips head screws. So I mean, I've got at least 10 extras. I don't know if they did that on purpose or not, but anyway, so screw it on there, screw it on there. So now you have the front mount and the rear mount. Then it comes with this piece. So you would screw that in right there, and that's your guide hole for your first drill bit. So you would drill a hole through the center all the way through, and that's actually where your trigger is going to go out the bottom part of the low receiver as well. And then you have these adjustments here. So with the 5D tactical jig, I had this router. It's a battery power router. Super small, easy to use, a little window so you can see what you're doing. It's a great little router, but I mean, to finish a whole low receiver, I went through 10 charges. I mean, I've got probably about 10 batteries, so I just will swap them out. But it would get a little hot, and I don't know, I'd have to take breaks and stuff to keep it from burning up, and it was okay. I mean, then I had, this was the end mill that I would use. Super long, and anybody knows anything about metal, the longer it goes, the more flex it has. This is carbide steel. It wasn't the best. It would leave super fine little marks in it, but I mean, it never really bothered me, so it wasn't bad enough to bother me. So anyways, so then when I got the 80% Arms jig, I decided I needed a different router because the plate that it comes with that goes on top of the router is super thick. But I ended up buying, what is it, Bosch from Amazon for, I think it was $80, and it's 110. It comes with the kit comes with everything to mount up to this specific router. It doesn't actually mount up to this router at all. They don't, the plate bolt holes don't match up. So I couldn't use this anyways, which was fine. It motivated me to get the right thing. So when I went to go use this end mill, it was so long that when I first started the new build, it would jump and it would skip, and I could tell it was just destroying it, so I stopped. Found out that I needed to buy this end mill because it actually has this little super thick piece. It goes into there, and there's actually a bearing inside of this, so it supports it left and right so it doesn't jump around like that. So when you're actually cutting, actually you can see the bearing in there. It's supported by the bearing, so it's only that long technically. This thing, I've done quite a few lowers. This thing, actually I believe this lower is an 80% arms lower as well. So either way, it's perfect. I love this thing. There's almost no slop in it at all. There's a slight, when you twist the upper and lower, normally you'll feel quite a bit of play. Not so much on this one. It's pretty tight, so it's definitely a good pick. So I'll be getting another one of those pretty soon. Anyway, so as you start, so let's go back to this part. As you start, the lower receiver is back in here, front, the back. You have this piece mounted up here. You have this piece mounted up here with the pilot hole for the drill bit. And what you would do is you would take your router and you would put it right here, and you would start off at number 1, because that's your first cut, at the number 1 line. As you can see, there's a bunch of lines in there. So you would measure it, set it to the first line. You would put the shortest pins with these different size shims here. They go right here, and then they come with little screws. Those little sleeves, they get locked inside of this channel on both sides. As you can tell, that's the exact shape of a fire control group on the inside of the low receiver. So it guides with it. You can't mess it up. It locks in. It won't go too deep. It won't go too far. And then so when you go from 1, after you go from step to step in number 1, you go to number 2, and then you go step to step in there, starting from the bottom, working your way up. And then as you step to number 2 on here, you would trade out the small pins for the next size up. And then it locks into, let's see here, number 2 in here. So that way you're not cutting back here anymore, because you need that step there. Again, you run through all the way till you hit the top of this with your bit. And then you would move to the longest set. So it's only 3 steps. And then you would cut from starting at the bottom line all the way to the top there. And it locks in to here. So and that's the whole thing. After you mill that out, then you would drill your holes, so that way you're not cutting through too much material and getting offset and all that. So you would drill a hole through the firing pin here, the pin here, not firing pin, trigger pin. And then you would drill a hole through here, flip it over, and do the same on the other side. That way everything's lined up perfectly. Let's say you do 500 lowers in the course of whatever you want. This steel insert here, because this whole thing's aluminum, super lightweight. Steel insert, once that starts to wear out, you can pop it out and put a new one in. So that way you're always precise. 0 issues whatsoever. The book actually comes with a list. I don't know. Here's the book right here, by the way. It comes with a list of routers that it actually accepts. And there's your whole list right there. Like I said, I've done quite a few here. Here's a 9mm 80%. Did that one. There's a 300 blackout pistol. Did that one. And an AR-10 308. Did that one. My next build I'm actually doing is another competition one. I've built the upper so far, and I'm getting ready to get the lower, and it'll be an 80% as well. So you can actually adjust it with this roll dial here. Instead of having to flip it up, move it down, push it close, you can actually just roll it and it'll go up and down as you go. So this thing doesn't require any measuring tools because the measuring gauge is already on it. You only have to drill one hole prior to milling. So once you get the lower receiver mounted up in here, like I said, you drill that one pilot hole, and that's actually with your pins here. Let's say you're on number 1, okay? With your pins here, you're gonna set it down in there in number 1 at that depth that you need. And the end mill is actually gonna go into that pilot hole you drilled. And a good thing to remember is once you have this thing mounted in a vise, which I mounted at the very end here. That's what that little lip's for, is to mount it. I have a small portable vise that I use. I actually go clockwise. So as I'm cutting, I'll cut in a circle clockwise. So what I'll do is I'll go against the wall, go up, over, back, over, up, back, over, back, like that, and just continue on until one pass, do an adjustment, another pass, do an adjustment. Okay, so I actually have the 80% Arms website pulled up on this. So here's something they include on their website. This is actually the only company that does this as well. 80%, I'm gonna read it verbatim for you. 80% lower replacement program. Okay. In the remote chance you make a mistake while using an 80% Arms jig that causes a functional damage to your 80% Arms lower, we will replace your lower at a 50% discount. So let's say the lowers are 80 bucks. You pay 40 bucks and you get a whole new one, which, I mean, if you make a mistake, it's kind of your fault. You know what I mean? Because you're getting into it and you skip something or miss something or didn't read something. So if you make a mistake, it's your fault. But they're actually willing to pay 50%. That's nobody does that. Everybody's all about the money, you know? So the fact that they're willing to do that says something really good. This whole system is built in the United States, supporting small U.S. businesses. That's always good. It's all CNC machined out, so you know it's precise measurements. Like I said, I'm not going to tell you how many, a few. And I've had 0 issues. And this thing is amazing in every way. Just the sheer quality of it. The 80% Arms compared to the 5D tactical mill or jig, sorry, it's night and day. Like the other ones are about that thick instead of this thick. The top's a lot thinner. It only does one receiver size instead of all of them. This is the only one that actually does all of the sizes. All right, so that pretty much wraps it up. This is the jig. Like I said, it's that simple. Everything I explained is exactly how you do it. Super easy, super simple. So I can't actually put the link in the description because, again, YouTube doesn't like that kind of stuff. So here it is, 80% Arms, Easy Jig, Gen 3. Each generation gets better and better and better. They don't come out very often, so don't think as soon as you buy one, it's not like Apple phones that you buy one and as soon as you buy it, a new generation comes out. It's insane, but like I said, it does the different platforms, AR-15, AR-9, AR-308, AR-10. So yeah, that's about it. So 80% Arms. Again, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.